Hello and welcome back to Banditfox Studios. My name's Jeremy, and today we are going to be checking out the brand new single from Spring State, Wounds.
Now I feel your ghost, and every day I wake, regretting every word I could never say.
For those of you unfamiliar with Spring State, they're an awesome indie emo band from here in central New Jersey. I had the pleasure of working with them on their debut album, Everything Must Grow. So like I said, today we're going to be checking out their brand new single, Wounds. This song is really special, and you can actually hear more about the meaning behind it and more about Spring State at this video right here. So let's take a look at this session here. This is Wounds. This is the whole project session that I mixed. So the song starts out with this acoustic guitar. Sounds like this. Yeah, so right off the bat there, we got this fun little thing I added in just to kind of transition from that slower intro into the strumming from the first verse. So I basically just took the end of this acoustic guitar line here, threw it through a bunch of reverb, reversed it, and that's how we get this kind of swell effect. Which goes really nicely right into that strumming bit on the acoustic, which we layered up also with a bit of these lead lines. So that's where the vocal comes in verse 1. Still keeping it pretty sparse. It's just acoustic and vocal for the first portion of the song. So together that's sounding a bit like this.
December never felt so cold, but it's all that I've come to know. It chills me way down to my bones and leaves me hollowed out for all to see.
So like I said, we're kind of keeping the arrangement kind of minimal at this point, just kind of setting the tone for the song. That goes right into the first chorus, which, again, kind of keeping it down low.
Now I feel your ghost, and every day I wake, regretting every word I could never say.
So let's actually look at what we're doing with these vocals here. So like I said, in the theme of keeping the arrangement pretty minimal in the beginning, we just got these single-tracked vocals through the first verses. Bring in the double track right here at the start of the chorus. We've just got a little bit of auto-tune. Look, sue me. Everybody uses it. We're not doing anything crazy. Just kind of taming it a little bit, keeping it a bit more tight. Some EQ, compression, a little bit of harmonics, and then a ton of reverb.
Now I feel your ghost, and every day I wake.
So you can kind of hear there the reverb kind of swells up in these gaps. You know, it kind of sits behind the vocal, and then once the vocal stops, it kind of blooms into full effect. Here, let's listen to that one more time.
Now I feel your ghost, and every day I wake, regretting every word I could never say.
I love that effect. It's a really good way of kind of taming some of that muddy low end that can kind of build up with some reverb. So just keeping it out of the way of the vocals. And the way I'm doing that is actually just with a regular old compressor. We got FabFilter Pro C2 here. And the trick here is this compressor on the reverb channel is actually sidechained from the vocals. So this is telling the reverb to duck while the vocals are present and active. And then as soon as the vocals go away, the reverb is allowed to come up and kind of fill that space. So it's a really fun trick. Highly recommend you try it. The main thing is you got to play around with the threshold, see where you like the reverb to sit while the vocals are going, and then play around with the attack and release time so you can kind of control the way that reverb kind of ramps up in that bloom. So moving on to the next section of this song here, right after that first chorus is when the full band comes in. So we've got the guitar now double tracked, panned hard left and right, with that lead, acoustic guitar lead still up the center. We got some percussion coming in. So kind of just a nice verbed out shaker. Sounds pretty cool. Keep that rhythm a little bit with those accents. Then the other main thing that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting at this point is these production layers down here. So this track started off with just these 2 acoustic guitar takes that AJ sent over to me. We pulled those in, and he was saying that he really wanted to build this up, make it more kind of ambient, have some orchestral elements. So from here, we kind of just started playing around, adding stuff that we thought sounded cool. It all started, let's see, I think with these strings here. We've got those doubled up with an old Hofner style bass. Just real simple lines, but just adding some of that low end in here. One of my favorite things that we added, actually doubling up with this acoustic guitar lead, is this kalimba sound. That sounds really cool, kind of ethereal. Adds a really cool layer. Let's hear those together. Yeah, just that super spacey kind of sound. I think it sounds really cool. I'm a big fan. So when these guitars switch from mono to stereo, I'm actually doing another little trick to make them feel a bit more stereo. I actually got this trick from Paul Davids on YouTube, so shout out Paul, thank you very much. I'll link to his video where he explains that down below. But I essentially have these guitars sending to 3 different reverbs. So the mono acoustic guitar is going to my regular guitar reverb bus. Then the left and right are also going to that same reverb bus, but then each of them are going to an additional reverb. So my left guitar going to the main reverb bus, and then also to another reverb that's hard panned right. So the dry guitar signal is on the left and the reverb is on the right. Then I do the exact opposite on the right guitar. So we're getting kind of a crisscross from the dry signal and the reverb that just helps it sound huge and gets it nice and wide. Shout out Paul Davids for that one. Very much appreciated. So let's hear what that sounds like all together coming out of that first chorus, and you can kind of hear it go from just this mono acoustic guitar right up the middle into kind of full band arrangement.
Regretting every word I could never say.
So now we're getting more into the actual meat of this song, where we got some more stuff going on. So we brought the strings in at the beginning of this interlude section, and we originally had them going pretty much throughout the rest of the song. But to change it up a little bit, we actually switched them from long sustained bowed strings to some staccato strings, which I think sound really cool. So that's most of what's going on with the added layers during the verses. Some fun vocal stuff down here. We added this kind of call and response to the ends of these lines in the verses.
See you once again.
In addition to some harmonies over top of the verses.
That's long dried on the pages for lines.
And now this, right up this chorus, is where it really kicks in. So we're going to start off by bringing in some more percussion. So in addition to the shaker, we also have a cajon going, which I actually used Logic's session drummer for the most part. Went in and fine-tuned some things after the fact, but as a bass line, when we were just starting off writing the song, it was so helpful in just getting ideas down. So that sounds a bit like this. So the low end of that cajon, I'm pretty sure I ended up sample replacing it with a kind of soft kick drum sound just to get some more separation from the low end and the high end of the cajon. Helps it cut through the mix a little bit as well. We still got these layers going, the strings and the bass in the chorus, and then we also are bringing in quite a few more vocals. So to add to that energy, we added an upper octave on the vocals and kind of pulled them back a little bit, reverbed them out a little bit.
Never me, now I feel your ghost, and every day I wake, regretting every word I could never say.
So after that first chorus, we actually wanted to bring up the energy a little bit more even. So we added some more percussion. We got a tambourine in the mix now. And we finally also added our electric guitar. It's an acoustic song, but it's still fun to throw some electric guitar on there. Especially this, we kind of made it pretty ambient. So for these electric guitars, I'm using Neural DSP's Archetype Rabia. Shout out Rabia Masad, Neural DSP. I love this plugin. And it looks like I'm just using a preset on this one. Stock factory preset. Could this be a cave for a nice ambient electric guitar sound that sounds like this? Yeah, that sounds so cool. So these guitars are actually all tracked with this parts caster right here that I put together out of pieces of an old Squire, a couple new Fender parts, Seymour Duncan pickups. One of my favorite guitars. I love it. Next up in the section, I absolutely have to mention Jimmy's organ. Nice little B3 sound we have going in the background. Just kind of adding like a droney pad. Just kind of adding to the ambient layers going on in this song. So that's kind of going on for most of the remainder of the song. So let's hear that section all together coming out of the end of that chorus.
You linger in my thoughts and in my brain.
Then out of that interlude, kind of keep that energy going for this first half of this verse, but then the second half of this verse is where we start having some fun with this. So we have another verse there, kind of doing the same thing, again with these call and response vocals, harmony, electric guitar lead, and this is going into one of my favorite parts of the song, the end of this verse. Let's give that a listen, and then I'll walk you through what we did in some of these parts.
Talk about it when I meet. Now I feel your ghost.
And we finally arrived at the huge last chorus coming out of that verse. So let's talk about what we did in this verse, because I think this is probably one of the most important things that we did to this song. So what we did in this section, we wanted to, add some dynamics before we went into this final big chorus. So we actually kind of went back and made the arrangement a bit more minimal, kind of like how we were in the beginning. So we took out most of these production layers that are going on here. We had this electric guitar line just doing some simple single note stuff, again with that kind of ambient tone. And then on the acoustic guitar and the percussion, I've actually automated these EQs, this high cut and this band right here. So it actually brings them way down, kind of pulls them back in the mix a little bit, not as much high end coming through. And then I have this automating up to bring in more of that high end gradually over the end of that verse, right back into that big chorus, and then we have a huge impact, full band comes back in. So let's hear what this sounds like. I'm just going to play the acoustics and the percussion here, so you can kind of hear how these get ducked out. And then we're right back where we started with full sound, full spectrum coming through on both of those. And to further emphasize the impact of this last chorus, I just have a few little sound effects down here. We got a riser and a couple drop impact sounds. Let's see what those are doing. It's just a lot of fun. It just makes it hit that much harder. All right, on that last chorus, we got our production layers coming right back in. We actually have another electric guitar line. I think I recorded this part, actually, oddly enough. Same guitar, same plugin, same preset. There's just some simple arpeggios up there, but it adds a nice kind of upper layer. So let's give this chorus another listen from this dropout point.
Our memories keep me company. I feel as if you're next to me. So I'll keep that feeling till the end. And we can talk about it when I meet. Now I feel your ghost and every day I wake.
Yeah. That's what we got going on there. We got all these vocals, again, low octave, high octave. The last thing that I can't forget to mention are these vocals down here from our friend Alex. He wrote these lines with AJ years ago, to my understanding, from when they originally wrote this song. And it adds a really cool kind of counter melody to the end of this last chorus. If I could just walk you through the signal chain that Alex told me he recorded these through. Starting off with Buffalo Trace with 3 large ice cubes, 4 Marlboro Reds, Alex's voice, into an audio interface, 1073 preamp clone, a literal ton of compression, 7-band EQ, and a bit of tuning, with natural reverb provided by his hotel room. Oh, and an off-axis SM57 because he didn't have a pop filter. I hope that shows you our dedication to getting the absolute best takes in every circumstance, no matter where you are, what you're recording with, because I think these actually came out sounding really good. So let's hear how these sound in the mix. This is the final chorus. It's got all the layers that I've mentioned before going on, all of our percussion, stereo acoustic guitars. You got these ambient electric guitars, bass, strings, organ, all of AJ's vocals, low octave and high octave, in addition to Alex's vocals doing the counter melody. So let's hear how that sounds.
And I feel your ghost in every day I wake. I'll float to you like a ship. And I feel your ghost every time I shake. 1,000 words, 1,000. And I feel your ghost in every move I make. I'll float to you like a ship. And I feel your ghost when I'm about to break. 1,000 words, 1,000 miles until I sleep again, I swear.
And you can hear we ended it with that same mono acoustic guitar from the intro. A nice little callback there. So that's what went into making Wounds by Spring State. I hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two that you can use in your own songwriting, your own productions. I'm not getting into the super nitty-gritty of mixing at this point. I'm really just focusing more from production, songwriting perspective. If you want to hear more details about the technical side of mixing, let me know. I'd be happy to do a walkthrough on that as well. But I hope that this walkthrough gave you some inspiration and maybe some ideas that you can use in your own projects moving forward. So again, I've been Jeremy with Banditfox Studios. I hope you enjoyed that walkthrough. Make sure you go check out Wounds by Spring State. Save it, add it to your playlist, share it with your friends. It's a really special song and I'm super excited for it to be out in the world. Stay tuned for more songwriting production content coming from right here at Banditfox Studios.
Words, 1,000